Hello and welcome to today's video where we're going to continue the conversation from yesterday in regards to whether North America and their teams are going to poach Brazilian CBLOL players. Yesterday I went over a few names that I felt like had the potential to be, good enough that it would make sense for a North American team to take them on in the Tier 1 level. Keep in mind there are 6 teams. We're going to talk about that here. Now, people brought up, what about when Oceania, dissolved because they went bankrupt and North America were allowed to use those players as non-import slots? What about Fudge? What about this person and that? FBI lost, etc. And how, if that happened, then it's going to happen in Brazil's case. So, the situations are similar. They're not all that similar, and we're going to go over why. So, in 2020 to 2021, most players fell into 3 categories that were Oceania players playing in North America in 2021. Either 1, they were already imported. Fudge was already in C9 in late 2019. He was signed and played in 2020 prior to even the import rule becoming non-existent. So he was already imported. He was already considered, hey, this player is good enough that we've already brought him into North America when he wasn't a special case where now we were allowed to bring him in and not be an import, like he was already one of the 2 imports that Cloud9 had, whether it was in Academy or not. And everybody else also fell into that category. Either they were already imported, like a lot of those players already were in the LCS or on an Academy team. And then 2, a lot of players immediately went to Academy upon being allowed to import into North America for free. Does that mean that you could say, oh, well, the CBLOL players are going to do that? They're going to go to Tier 2. Theoretically, I guess that's a possibility. I'm not thinking about Tier 2. I don't watch Tier 2. So if that's your worry that they're going to decide, those CBLOL players would say, hey, instead of playing in Brazil Tier 2, I'm going to play in North America Tier 2. I guess you can go down that road, and if that's the hill you want to die on, then you can go right ahead. I'm not going to argue against that because I don't really care too much about Tier 2 to give a shit one way or another. But in that case, most players at the time were going Tier 2. Isla, although he's here now, went with Team Liquid Academy. Lost was already with either Lost or FBI were already imported into Golden Guardians. I think it was FBI. Lost came over. You've got players like King, Katsuri. I found a list on Reddit of like 15 players that came over. Topun, Thean, Tally. A lot of these players were high-level players in Oceania that finally had an opportunity to go to North America and ended up on Academy teams. Did some end up playing some games? Harry, a good example. Yes, I think Ryoma already had been imported into North America prior to the rule becoming a thing as well. So another player that had already been imported into North America prior to it not counting anymore. So it's just like a lot of these players didn't immediately go to the LCS in the top 10 teams. They were not considered a player that was good enough to be a top 10 player in their role to be on a team. Now, you could say, yeah, but they're given an opportunity. Teams were thinking, hey, maybe they have a chance, and we're going to put them on one of our Academy teams. Okay, that's a thing, and we're going to discuss that a little bit more. 3, imported to LEC. Destiny was already in the LEC on Origin. So as far as I'm concerned, he was already considered a major region talent, although he was from Oceania. So just like 1, he was already imported. He was already at that level. So as far as I'm concerned, it was not an addition due to the rule changing. The exception being Reyes. Reyes is the only player that I could see that was signed after the fact and immediately was signed to play on the main roster of an LCS team. He was signed to play for Immortals with Destiny, and I don't recall if they'd played together in Oceania prior. If they had, that probably plays a role in it as well. So, theoretically, yeah, there was one player that North America did take and said, hey, you know what? You don't count as an import anymore. We want you. And as far as I'm concerned, Brantz. And I've said, that I considered Brants to be worthy of an import a couple of years ago after Worlds, well, a year and a half ago, so that's not going to change now. If you haven't watched my channel, during Worlds 2022, then you're late to the party. I've been a Brants uh, fan for a very long time, so I consider him to be worthy of an import slot. Now that he isn't, that's all the more reason LCS teams need to get their shit together and sign him. He should have been signed a very long time ago. I don't care. Oh, we love watching him play this or that. Yeah, you can watch him play on the LCS when he gets paid how much he's supposed to get paid. That's a whole nother thing that we continue to have to discuss. These players, if they end up going to North America, are going to get paid more because they deserve to be paid more. Allow them to make the money that they deserve. Don't hold somebody back from an opportunity because you're going to be upset. I understand it's bittersweet. I went over this yesterday. I used an analogy from my own life that I am changing jobs. It is going to upset the people that I'm with now, but at the same time, they want better for me. And I understand at first it hurts, but that's why the whole I don't want to get into the weeds with the emotion and shit like that because let's be real, you're going to get over it in a week. In a week, you're going to have to kind of step back and say, you know what, this is what it is. Yes, people lost their jobs. That's terrible. Otherwise, let's go with what's going to happen next, right? So we got these players in regards to Oceania. Now, we have to keep in mind how many options were there for these players in the LCS. In 2021, the LCS had 10 teams and each team had an academy team. Not only that, I didn't even dig deep to see if anyone had a third tier team. I know 100 Thieves did for a little while, FlyQuest did, Team Liquid, CLG. So maybe it's even possible that there are more than 10 academy teams at the time. That's a minimum 20 slots in each role. And right now there are 8. And you could say, yeah, but what about the NACL teams? Like I said, Tier 2. If they go to Tier 2, I'm not accounting for that. If they go to a non-LCS affiliated org, that is some serious decision making. Because, I mean, no hate to the non-LCS affiliated orgs, but a lot of them are universities and things like that. So it's not even that's a totally different vibe. That's not an independent team. You're hypothetically going to college, right? So that's a whole nother thing in and of itself. Now all of a sudden you're going to say, oh, well, that person is not only, I guess they're getting NIL money, and at the same time you're going to deny that person money and an education? That would make it even worse to try and hold someone back from that. But regardless, there were just more opportunities then. And right now, I haven't dug deep into how many Tier 2 teams there might be or academy teams, if these 6 teams are required to have an academy team. But right now, only FlyQuest and Team Liquid do. So there are 8 slots, hypothetically, 6 LCS slots, 2 non, Tier 1 slots if Team Liquid FlyQuest keep their rosters in Academy, and versus 20. That was the case in 2021 when all these Oceania players were bought up by the LCS, and majority, I don't know why I said it that way, majority of those players ended up in Academy anyways and never saw the light of day in the LCS and probably played 1 or 2 splits and went back to Oceania and continued their careers. So, it's just being blown out of proportion, this notion that all these CBLOL players are going to be eaten up by the LCS. Theoretically, could they? Yes. And then somebody brings up a point, well, what if one day the CBLOL does get better? Now the LCS are going to take our players. Well, I go back to, do you want these players to get paid what they deserve, or would you rather them not get paid what they deserve, but you be happy? You've got A or B. A or B there. So that's... And, it says a lot about you when you choose which one. So, it's a shitty situation for fans, the people that lost their jobs. Those are the people that we should feel bad for, not necessarily the guys that can't see their favorite player on Sunday because now they're getting paid a fair market value. I think that is just not something I want to really deal with. So, once again, we're continuing yesterday's conversation in this video with some thoughts about it, right? So I went over it. did I miss maybe one or two Oceania players? Comment. I'm sure if somebody thinks I did, they're going to say, oh, I gotcha. And I'm going to be like, okay, well, what's the percentage? And keep in mind this difference here when you think about it. I think this is the main thing here. These two things, and number one, that players were already in the LCS and considered import level before all of a sudden they were no longer considered an import. Now all of a sudden it's like, oh, they were no longer being compared to import players, but North American players, and people might say, yeah, well, the Americas slot makes them compared to North American players. I had players up there, and we went over who's North American, who's not. Someone told me Inspired isn't an import anymore, so that makes the jungle role even tougher. I didn't have a jungler from the CBLOL that I considered to be at that level. And I mean, there was probably like, 5 players up there I had? 5 or 6? That I even had in the conversation. So, I think it's a boogeyman that people are trying to think about, that really they shouldn't be worried about that. They should be worried about, hey, how's the tier 2 system going to work? How are the 4 teams that are no longer tier 1 going to survive? That's important, because everyone thinks these 4 teams are dead. They're not dead. They're only dead if you let them die. Like, if there's a tier 2 system that we can, theoretically believe it's a normal tier 2 system where they have their own league and they're competing to get to tier 1, why would you not support those teams still? And 100% agree that, oh, it sucks that they lost their tier 1 slot. Well, you're just going to stop supporting them? They're not dead. And Brazil's not dead unless you let it die. So, yeah, so I don't think that, once again, I don't think CBLOL players are going to just be poached by the LCS unless it's like Brant. Brant should have been poached a long time ago. And, there are a handful of other players that I think you can make an argument for being, considered for the LCS at the tier 1 level. So thank you for watching. Thank you for, you're not a member, most of you. So thank you for watching. If you like the video, like it, subscribe to the channel for daily League of Legends content. Follow me on Twitter, join the Discord, become a YouTube supporter, and hope to see you again tomorrow.